Good morning, Donna. How are you? Oh, shoot. I can't hear let's say maybe your volume's down or your mic is off. Oh, let's see. Unmute. There it is. How's
Got
that?
me?
I can hear
me?
you. Yes.
Yay!
Yay. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. It's just so hot. I'm sure you're feeling it.
Where are you located?
I'm in San Diego.
Okay. Yeah. I'm in Murrieta, Temecula.
So warm.
I think it's supposed to be 106 today.
I don't want to know.
I know. But I think today might be the last day, like the worst day.
So.
I know.
We're not used to this.
I know it is. It's crazy. I told my husband, I feel like it's the river, like in Arizona when you go outside and it's like an oven. It's just like takes your breath.
So humid. Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
I know. We complain, but whatever.
I know. Yeah, it could be. I think about people that live in Palm Springs and it's like, wow, yeah, when it's 120 and I don't know how they do it. So, yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see here. I'm just taking down. All right. Perfect. So let me get my watch, and I've got some drills that we'll start before the four voice and the Q&A. And
I wanted to ask you, can you hear me still?
I can.
I wanted to ask you maybe for next week or another week. I just changed, great timing, I know. I just changed how I'm doing my teens and teens stuff, like 13th, 14th. I just changed how I'm doing that to some different briefs. And if you have an exercise on numbers that would include those at some future time when you can prepare, that'd be awesome. It would help.
Absolutely. So numbers, like maybe ordinals, like seventh or second, things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're taking away, did you used to use the E, like 10 to 10 E?
You know what's funny is that in my theory that I learned, we use number bar and then the TH that we had. And it just takes too many strokes.
Yeah.
And so I had changed all my numbers long ago to my own, I came up with my own number system. And then I found another set of briefs for just the teens that's working so much better for me. So I just need to incorporate it and practice it a lot. And I am practicing, but it'd be good to hear it instead of just reading it.
Absolutely. I will. I do. I've got a great drill. In fact,
awesome. Thank you.
I just read it was a really good drill with ordinals Wednesday. It was the medium speed, so it's like 120.
That's great though. I can do that for good practice.
But I will definitely I've got plenty, so I will definitly pull some because I do have a number drill today, but it's populations.
That's fine.
So it's not really, but I will I wrote it down, and I have a girlfriend who just told me that she changed her numbering system. She's a depot reporter, and she was telling me how like anything in the 19s, she does something, and then same as like the years in the 2000s, and she's got like a system where it's only one stroke. So
nice.
I'll ask her what it is. I'll write it down because otherwise I'll forget.
Great.
Vicki.
Yeah, I found some briefs on what is that? I have that little program that's anyway, a little briefing program on my computer. I'm like, you know what? This isn't enough of this. I got to go see what they say.
Right.
And they had a great system, and I was like, oh, why hadn't I thought of that? And so I'm incorporating it, and it's just one stroke for the teens, and you just add the T at the end, so it's one stroke for the ordinal as well.
Yes.
So well, so I'm trying to incorporate it now, and
that's all. Yeah,
not a good time.
and it will. There's going to be like a little, you'll probably pause for a while, but if you more you practice, the faster you'll get at it. So I will definitely bring in some drills for you guys. Absolutely, yes. Great. I'm just marking my watch here because I like to do it for when it's marked in 20s because sometimes it is marked in 20s, so it's different from when it's marked in 25s. Let's see, so 6.5. And it's so funny. I like to mark my watch with my little marker here because then I don't have to really look so hard at it. It like stands out. I take my marker and I mark my points like wherever it's supposed to be, so I can it's just a lot easier to look down and know that I made my mark. Kind of
I'm really glad to know you're so concise because I don't know what it is about you. Ever since I had you way back in like 140 or something, and ever since then, I'm like, I can write to you so well comparatively. And then when I reach other people, I'm like, why does it seem so much faster? So I'm like, to know that you're like right on it is great.
I'm pretty, and that's the funny thing. I'm pretty like anal when it comes to that, because I want to. I'm reading at that speed. So if I've got it marked, then it just stands out, and I'm not winging it. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm glad.
Well, and you figure, okay, so on my sheet here, 200, you have to read, 25 words in 7.5 seconds. But 190, the only difference is you're reading at 8 seconds instead of 7.5. So, I mean, there is not much. Same with 225, you're only reading at 6.5 seconds. So really, there's not that much difference. So if you're winging it, chances are you could be off by a whole speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It matters. It matters to us.
Yes, it totally does. So yeah, I just like to make sure. So I'm going to mark one more.
It's amazing you can keep track of it. I don't know how you do it.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I like to mark it, because I don't, I just don't want to have to think about it. It's just right there, And the way I do it, the instructors at Sage used to think it was so funny, because they used to tell me, oh yeah, someday you'll stop doing that. Oh no, I never did. I just feel, in fact, I feel like it's kind of a security, just, yeah. So I have a little system. So if it's green, that tells me it's marked in 25s. And then if it's in purple, it's marked in 20s. Because some books, it's kind of funny. I like it marked in 25s. That way, if I'm reading at 200, it's a continuous run. So if you're on time, it's 7.5, 15, 22.5, and 30. So it can just run as long as you're on time. Mm-hmm. But the 20s, you have to reset it each time, because it's not, and once you get to the top, it
changes again.
Yeah. So anyways, it seems like half material is that I, some stuff I get is already pre-marked, and it's already marked at 20. So every 20 words. So that's why we have these different colors, and yeah. But,
well, I'm glad you know what you're doing.
Well, yeah, again, it's like a security thing for me. So, all right, well, we'll get started. So we'll get started with our drills, and then we've got lots of
all right, I'll do my best.
All right, yep, and I'm going to talk to Robert as well about possibly somebody had asked if I could read it maybe 2:30, 40. So I'm gonna see if he wants to do that in the live class, or if he wants to possibly do that in like the 225 recorded class.
Yeah.
Add another class,
I've been doing a case online. I found with that crazy person in Arizona, that Jody Arias case. Juan Martinez talks so fast, the prosecutor. So I've been trying to work on his questioning, and it's really fast. So
yes,
it's a mess, but it's fast.
No, that's good though. That's good that you're practicing that. Yeah. So, all right, okay. Well, then we'll get started. See, and I'll unmute as soon as we're done with the class.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Oops, let's see. Mute. All righty. Okay, so we're going to start with some common words. I always like to do that. Here we go. Ready? Candy, similar, bark, flirt, pathetic, supply, tower, engine, frozen, map, toilet, background, shutter, spider, adult, cheap, clue, hazel, irritate, sand, quarter, spare, American, rid, spat, pot, awful, bleed, fate, jog, strike, grimace, holiday, whistle, agreement, dull, expensive, snatch, sometime, ability, campus, color, disturb, flicker, proceed, recently, risk, skill, topic, defense, fry, luckily, retort, captain, eaten, glove, mid, owner, cheese, yank, tour, suspect, peak, major, leap, drawer, west, sweater, survive, contain, strap, sniff, signal, pity, New York, handsome, feather, coach, closely, afterward, freeze, heaven, mask, surprisingly, abruptly, begun, customer, pad, design, flop, pride, yep, interview, makeup, blast, prince, road, bubble, rent, teen. All right. Moving right into our next drill. These are phrases that people often say, and again, you just phrase what you can. Which have been, which have had, which he believed, which he believes, which he feels, which he felt, which he had, which he is, which he knows, which he recalled, which he recalls, which he recollected, which he recollects, which he remembered, which he remembers, which he shall, which he should, which he understands, which he wanted, which he wants, which he was, which he will, which he would, which shall, which is, which I was, which I wanted, which I want, which I understand, which I should, which I say, which I shall, which I remember, which I remembered, which I recollect, which I recollected, which I recalled, which I recall, which I have been, which I have had, which I have, which I had, which I am, which I believe, which I believed, which I could, which I feel, which I felt, which I had. All right, now moving right into our rank, country, and the population. I guess then I could do ordinals when I give you the rank. So we'll do that. I'll throw that in. Here we go. First, China. 1,330,044,605. Second, India. 1,147,995,898. Third, United States. 303,824,646. Number 4, Indonesia. 237,512,355. Fifth, Brazil. 196,342,587. Sixth, Pakistan. 172,800,051. Seventh, Bangladesh. 153,546,901. Eighth, Nigeria. 146,255,306. Ninth, Russia. 140,702,094. 10th, Japan. 127,288,419. 11th, Mexico. 109,955,400. 12th, Philippines. 96,061,683. 13th, Vietnam. 86,116,559. 14th, Ethiopia. 82,544,838. 15th, Germany. 82,369,548. 16th, Egypt. 81,713,517. 17th, Turkey. 71,892,807. 18th, Congo. 66,514,506. 19th, Iran. 65,875,223. 20th, Thailand. 65,493,298. 21st, France. 64,057,790. 22nd, United Kingdom. 60,943,912. 23rd, Italy. 58,145,321. 24th, South Africa. 48,782,755. 25th, Korea, South. 48,379,932. 26th, Myanmar. 47,758,181. 27th, Ukraine, 45,994,287. And 28th, Colombia, 45,013,674. And it goes all the way up to 50th, but I'll stop there and we will continue this. I'll finish this next week. I don't want to get you too tired with numbers. All right. I'm looking here at where the U.S. is. Oh yeah, United States was third. I don't even remember saying that. How funny is that? All right, my next drill is going to be words that have different consonant compounds. And then the last set is just different endings. So we're going to start out with consonant compounds SN, SM. Then we're going to go into SP, SW, then initial DR, TH, and then final NS and T. Okay, here we go. Sneer, smell, snow, smart, snit, smite, snail, smoke, snack, smack, snare, small, snag, smile, sneeze, smock, snoop, smear, snooze, smog, snot, smooth, snore, smug, spot, swell, spare, swim, spit, swat, spat, swipe, span, sweet, spore, swear, spoon, sweat, spill, swan, spike, swap, spade, sweep, space, swag, spate, swore, drag, thud, drum, thin, droll, then, dream, thought, drain, thug, dress, thaw, drip, them, drill, theft, drop, thick, drape, thatch, drool, thigh, drab, thus, dance, ant, chance, bent, flounce, pent, ounce, tent, pounce, went, stance, hunt, trance, taunt, bounce, bunt, lance, rant, fence, punt, dense, runt, sense, shunt. All right. Let's see here. Now I've got sentences using consonant compounds with initial GR. Here we go. Ready? Grab the gray grouse. The grab bag was green. They sent Grace for the groceries. Her graciousness was gratuitous. It was the grackles we graded. The grader gave me a great grade. The gradations were very gradual. Your gradients are grouped. When you graduate, you feel great. The grafter uses a grafting tool. Graft a green tree in a group. Don't mix the grail with the grain. His grammar was grand. You have a grand of greatness. We had a grand group. Grandfather greeted the Greek. A Spanish grandee is a grand duke. The Grand Canyon has grandeur. The grand jury was greeted gratefully. Grandma and Grandpa were great. All right. Let's see here. All right. Now, these are going to be names or different items, and then their spellings. All right, here we go. Ready? Aluminum, A-L-U-M-I-N-U-M. Antimony, A-N-T-I-M-O-N-Y. Argon, A-R-G-O-N. Arsenic, A-R-S-E-N-I-C. Acetine, A-S-T-A-T-I-N-E. Barium, B-A-R-I-U-M. Bismuth, B-I-S-M-U-T-H. Boron, B-O-R-O-N. Cadmium, C-A-D-M-I-U-M. Calcium, C-A-L-C-I-U-M. Californium, C-A-L-I-F-O-R-N-I-U-M. Carbon, C-A-R-B-O-N. Chlorine, C-H-L-O-R-I-N-E. Chromium, C-H-R-O-M-I-U-M. Cobalt, C-O-B-A-L-T. Curium, C-U-R-I-U-M. Copper, C-O-P-P-E-R. Fermium, F-E-R-M-I-U-M. Fluorine, F-L-U-O-R-I-N-E. Gallium, G-A-L-L-I-U-M. Gold, G-O-L-D. All right. For some reason, I had this page marked, but I'm not, let's see here. Oh, yeah, I marked that page, but I don't think I meant to because I thought I was completed with our drills. All right, so we're going to go right into literary, and the subject here is cancer. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, since it's the very first one, we'll start at 180 and then I'll work my way to 200. Okay. All right. Here we go. Ready? Cancer is the name commonly used for what your doctor would call a malignant tumor. In everyday English, that means harmful growth. A cancer is a harmful growth of tissue somewhere in the human system. If it is allowed to keep on growing, it will eventually choke off one or another of the body's necessary functions. It will kill the person who has the cancer if not treated. How does cancer start? If you were to look at sections of the body through a microscope, you would see that all of them are made up of tiny units called cells. Each organ is constructed of different types of these units, arranged in different ways. Yet all of these cells have certain basic similarities. The most fundamental is that they can reproduce themselves. This they do simply by dividing. One cell becomes two, the two becomes four, and so on. As your body grows and is put to different uses, its parts change in size and shape. A muscle used vigorously for some time develops in size. A muscle that is not used becomes smaller. In all parts of the body, the cells continually divide and form new ones to supply the material for new growth or to replace worn out or injured cells. When you cut your finger, for instance, the cells divide rapidly until the flesh is mended and the skin repaired. Then they go back to their normal rate of dividing. In some persons, though, this usual life process gets out of control. The mysterious mechanism that regulates the division of the cells breaks down. Wild-growing cells are formed that do not build normal flesh or bone tissue. They serve no useful purpose in the body at all. They divide more rapidly than normal cells, and in a haphazard way, they pile up into a useless mass or tumor. Sometimes these tumors remain in the part of the body in which they have started, often growing quite large and pressing on neighboring parts, usually doing no particular harm. Frequently, they are enclosed in a protective sheath or envelop in the tissue. These are known as benign tumors, but sometimes tumors develop which do not stay in one place harmlessly. They destroy the part of the body in which they start, and they spread to other parts of the body, starting new growth and wreaking new destruction. These are malignant tumors or cancer. In the beginning, either kind of tumor usually can be removed from the body by surgery, or when amenable to such treatment, can be destroyed by chemotherapy or radiation therapy. But the malignant tumor, even if starting in a non-vital part of the body, if untreated, will kill the person who has it. The important thing to remember is that most malignant tumors begin in the same way as benign tumors, as a local growth. In this stage, they can often be removed or destroyed. In short, if cancer is detected in time, it can usually be cured. Despite the intensive research that scientists are carrying on today, we still do not know what causes cancer or much about why certain people get it, why others escape. Many years of study and investigation have served to sweep aside misconceptions about the disease, but the final discoveries about the origins of the disease itself are still to be made. Cancer has been known since the earliest of historical times. The ancients thought that one human being could give it to another. As recently as Pasteur's time, and even later, it was confidently expected that a germ would be discovered to be the root cause of malignant tumors. The possibility that viruses may cause cancer is being thoroughly studied, but as yet there is no evidence that malignant tumors in human beings are caused by a germ or a virus. Cancer is not considered to be contagious or infectious. Neither is there reliable evidence that cancer in humans is inherited. Sometimes we do see malignant tumors occurring in more than one member of a family. However, studies indicate that such tumors occur no more in descendants of cancer victims than they do among those whose family histories seemingly have been free of the disease. It is a matter of record that in the course of several generations, almost every family will have several members fall victim to cancer. Although no final discoveries have been made about the origins of cancer, we do know a great deal about the factors that seem to favor the development of malignant tumors. We know, for instance, that older persons are more likely to have cancer than young ones. We know, too, that some parts of the body where there is a high level of chemical activity seem to be unusually susceptible to cancer. We also know that friction and other mechanical irritations seem to favor the development of malignant tumors in some parts of the body. We have evidence to show that certain substances not normally found in the body favor the development of cancer in the respiratory tract, such as oil mist, chromate and radiation dust, and industrial fumes. There is also increasing evidence that excessive cigarette smoking is one of the causative factors in lung cancer. An important point to remember is that with early treatment, most cancer is curable. All right. Moving right into jury charge. So that was started at 180, and then I worked my way to 200. Okay, all right. So this is this topic here is payment for services. Okay, so this I'm going to start at 200. All right, and then I'll work my way to 225. Okay, all right, here we go. Ready? Members of the jury, let me first commend you for the very careful attention that you have been paying to the testimony in this case and to the arguments of counsel. It is a rather unusual case. The plaintiff, Tracy Dole, is seeking a verdict at your hands against Amy Rowland, administratrix of the estate of James Porter, deceased, the defendant. It is the contention of the plaintiff that she, a stranger not related to James Porter, rendered valuable services to Mr. Porter beginning in 2005 and up to March 19, 2016, when Mr. Porter died. That there was no payment in cash made by Mr. Porter to Mrs. Dole during that period of time, about 11 years, that she did receive her board and lodging, but that she was promised by Mr. Porter that he would compensate her for her services by providing in his will for her. That in general is the contention of the plaintiff. She says that no will was found making any provision for her after Mr. Porter's death, and therefore she says she is entitled to receive from the estate of Mr. Porter, from the defendant in this case, the reasonable value of the services which she rendered in reliance upon the promise of Mr. Porter to compensate her for providing for her in his will. To substantiate her claim, she produces the testimony of a large number of friends and acquaintances of Mr. Porter and of Mrs. Dole. It isn't necessary to review in detail all of the evidence submitted by these various witnesses, but it is sufficient to summarize that testimony with regard to the services rendered by Mrs. Dole in the following brief sentences. It is admitted in the pleadings that beginning June 15, 2005 and up to February 1st, 2016, the plaintiff, at the request of James Porter, acted as his housekeeper and cared for his sister, who was then ill and incapacitated. It is also admitted in the pleadings that $435 per week was the fair and reasonable value of the services rendered. During that rather short period, Mrs. Dole, according to the testimony, continued to act as the housekeeper in the various homes to which Mr. Porter removed from time to time. She did all of the housework, cooked, cleaned the house, did a lot of extra work in the way of taking care of apartments which were rented to the tenants in the house, which they occupied as their residence, and also in the other house on 6th Street, which was owned by Mr. Porter, that was rented out. There is some testimony that she also helped in taking care of merchandise purchased by Mr. Porter in his business, that she helped to make that merchandise sellable. You had the testimony of Mrs. Lawrence, who said she was engaged in an employment agency. She gave it her opinion that $545 was the reasonable value, in addition to board and lodging, for all of the other services which the witness claimed Mrs. Dole rendered over the period beginning about 2012 when the 6th Street house was acquired. This is a suit and contract. Now, there are various kinds of contracts. A contract, of course, is an agreement between two parties which imposes a legal obligation. It can be an expressed contract where one agrees to render services and the other agrees to accept those services and to pay for them. there you have an express contract, and there can be a contract implied. In fact, where there is no expressed agreement, but where the intention is clear from the conduct of the party one renders services, and the intention to pay by the recipient of these services can be reasonably inferred from all of these circumstances. That is an implied contract, a contract implied in fact. Then you have a contract which is implied in law, which is the kind of a contract that the plaintiff claims exists in this case. She does not say, and none of the witnesses say, that Mr. Porter ever expressly or implied agreed in fact to pay Mrs. Dolan the reasonable compensation for her services. But she says he did expressly agree that he was going to provide for her in his will so that she would be compensated for her services. And because he failed to provide for her in his will, because there is no will found which makes provision for her to compensate for her services, she says the law implies, out of equity and justice and reason, that she ought to be able to sue the estate of the decedent for the reasonable value of her services. Therefore, the law implies a contract. All right. Excuse me. I still have my allergies are still going crazy. I just keep thinking, okay, it's going to get better. I've never had allergies before, so. All right. How are we doing on time? Good, we're doing perfect. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start some Q&A. I'm going to start off with just strict Q&A. I'm going to read this once at 180, and then at 200, and then again at 225, because it's only about 2 pages, okay? And this is strict, just plaintiff questioning and the answer, okay? All right. So let's see here. Let me give you a word list. You're going to hear Fairgrove Middle School, Mr. Vandermint, dizzy spells, let's see, clumsy. That's about it. This is a pretty basic one. I do have some medical Q&A, dental testimony that I'm going to be giving you, but I thought I'd wait until we kind of get warmed up with the light board. Okay, all right, here we go. This is at 180. Your son was attending Fairgrove Middle School? That's right. The first time that he ever had a class with Mr. Vandermint was in the fall? I believe so. What grade was he in at the time? He was in 8th grade. Had you known Mr. Vandermint prior to the time your son was taking his class? No. Had you heard anything about him at all? Not until after my boy was struck. Up until that time, you had never heard anything good or bad about Mr. Vandermint? No. When did you first learn about your son being struck by Mr. Vandermint? It was around the middle of February, more or less. The middle of February, you say? Yes. Was that at your home? Yes, sir, it was. Just how did you learn about it? He told me. Your son told you? Yes, sir. What was the nature of the conversation with your boy when you first learned of the incident? Well, he would come home complaining every day about his legs and about his dizzy spells and about the cramping of his legs and not able to sit down. It was the same thing every day. How long had this been going on? Since September? This was in February when he told me this. About how long had he been complaining of it before you asked him about it? About a week. Prior to that, he had never complained about it. He would complain, but he wouldn't tell me what was the matter with him. When did he start complaining about dizzy spells and his legs hurting? Along in September. September, right after school started. That continued up until February? Yes. During that period of time, were you asking him what was causing it to hurt? Well, I would ask him how it hurt, but my sister told me she thought they were growing pains in his legs. I just figured he would be over it one day. Did you ask him if he had fallen and hurt himself in any way? Yes, I did. What would he say? He said he hadn't fallen. Had you requested him several times about it? Yes, but he never said anything about being hurt until February? Not until February when he really got sick. In February, did he appear to be worse? Yes, very much. Did he limp? Yes. Was it quite a noticeable limp when he would walk? Very much, yes. He could not walk the same. Did it appear he had to catch on to things because of his dizzy spells, or did you notice he would almost fall? Yes, he acted as though he was kind of dumb, kind of clumsy, like he wasn't himself. He kind of staggered when he walked. Yes, he dragged his feet to walk. He dragged both feet. Yes. Did you notice anything else? He would trip real easy. Trip real easy? Yes, sir, and bump into things as he was walking. All right, so I'm going to read this again at 200. Here we go. Your son was attending Fairgrove Middle School? That's right. The first time that he ever had a class with Mr. Vandermint was in the fall? I believe so. What grade was he in at the time? He was in the 8th grade. Had you known Mr. Vandermint prior to the time your son was taking his class? No. Had you heard anything about him at all? Not until after my boy was struck. Up until that time, you had never heard anything good or bad about Mr. Vandermint? No. When did you first learn about your son being struck by Mr. Vandermint? It was around the middle of February, more or less. The middle of February, you say? Yes. Was that at your home? Yes, sir, it was. Just how did you learn about it? He told me. Your son told you? Yes, sir. What was the nature of the conversation with your boy when you first learned of the incident? Well, he would come home complaining every day about his legs and about his dizzy spells and about the cramping of his legs and not able to sit down. It was the same thing every day. How long had this been going on? Since September? This was in February when he told me this. About how long had he been complaining of it before you asked him about it? About a week. Prior to that, had he ever complained about it? He would complain, but he wouldn't tell me what was the matter with him. When did he start complaining about dizzy spells and his legs hurting? Along in September. September, right after school started. That continued on up until February? Yes. During that period of time, were you asking him what caused it to hurt? Well, I would ask him how it hurt, but my sister told me she thought they were growing pains in his legs. I just figured he would be over it one day. Did you ask him if he had fallen and hurt himself in any way? Yes, I did. What would he say? He said he hadn't fallen. Had you questioned him several times about it? Yes, but he never said anything about being hurt until February? Not until February, when he really got sick. In February, did he appear to be worse? Yes, very much. Did he limp? Yes. Was it quite a noticeable limp when he would walk? Very much, yes. He could not walk the same. Did it appear he had to catch onto things because of his dizzy spells? Or did you notice he would almost fall? Yes, he acted as though he was kind of dumb, kind of clumsy, like he wasn't himself. He kind of staggered when he walked? Yes, he dragged his feet to walk. He dragged both feet? Yes. Did you notice anything else? He would trip real easy. Trip real easily? Yes, sir, and bump into things as he was walking. All right, so this last time will be at 2:25. Ready? Your son was attending Fairgrove Middle School? That's right. The first time that he ever had a class with Mr. Vandermint was in the fall? I believe so. What grade was he in at the time? He was in 8th grade. Had you known Mr. Vandermint prior to the time your son was taking his class? No. Had you heard anything at all about him? Not until after my boy was struck. Up until that time, you had never heard anything good or bad about Mr. Vandermint? No. When did you first learn about your son being struck by Mr. Vandermint? It was around the middle of February, more or less. The middle of February, you say? Yes. Was that at your home? Yes, sir, it was. Just how did you learn about it? He told me. Your son told you? Yes, sir. What was the nature of the conversation with your boy when you first learned of the incident? Well, he would come home complaining every day about his legs and about his dizzy spells and about the cramping of his legs and not able to sit down. It was the same thing every day. How long had this been going on? Since September? This was in February when he told me this. About how long had he been complaining of it? And before you asked him about it? About a week. Prior to that, he had never complained about it. He would complain, but he couldn't tell me what was the matter with him. When did he start complaining about dizzy spells and his legs hurting? Along in September. September, right after school started. That continued on up until February? Yes. During that period of time, were you asking him what caused it to hurt? Well, I would ask him how it hurt, but my sister told me she thought they were growing pains in his legs. I just figured he would be over it one day. Did you ask him if he had fallen and hurt himself in any way? Yes, I did. What would he say? He said he hadn't fallen. Had you requested him several times about it? Yes, but he never said anything about being hurt until February. Not until February when he really got sick. In February, did he appear to be worse? Yes, very much. Did he limp? Yes. Was it quite a noticeable limp when he would walk? Very much, yes. He could not walk the same. Did it appear he had to catch on to things because of his dizzy spells? Or did you notice he would almost fall? Yes, he acted as though he was kind of dumb, kind of clumsy, like he wasn't himself. He kind of staggered when he walked. Yes, and he dragged his feet to walk. He dragged both feet. Yes. Did you notice anything else? He would trip real easily. Yes, sir, and bump into things as he was walking. All right, how was that? Very good. Now, if you want, I can do it one more time, and I can read it at 1:40 if you want to try it. You want to try it? Okay, we'll try it. I'm going to mark my watch now. Let's see here. 6. All right. All right, so we are going to rock and roll here. All right, here we go. Put on your seatbelt. Your son was attending Fairgrove Middle School? That's right. The first time that he ever had a class with Mr. Vandermint was in the fall? I believe so. What grade was he in at the time? He was in the 8th grade. Had you known Mr. Vandermint prior to the time your son was taking his class? No. Had you heard anything at all about him? Not until after my boy was struck. Up until the time that you had never heard anything good or bad about Mr. Vandermint? No. When did you first learn about your son being struck by Mr. Vandermint? It was around the middle of February, more or less. The middle of February, you say? Yes. Was that at your home? Yes, sir, it was. Just how did you learn about it? He told me. Your son told you? Yes, sir. What was the nature of the conversation with your boy when you first learned of the incident? Well, he would be home complaining every day about his legs and about his dizzy spells and about the cramping of his legs and not able to sit down. It was the same thing every day. How long had this been going on? Since September? This was in February when he told me this. About how long had he been complaining of it before you asked him about it? About a week. Prior to that, had he ever complained about it? He would complain, but he wouldn't tell me what was the matter with him. When did he start complaining about dizzy spells and his legs hurting? Along in September. Okay, September, right after school started. That continued on up until February? Yes. During that period of time, were you asking him what caused it to hurt? Well, I would ask him how it hurt, but my sister told me she thought they were growing pains in his legs. I just figured he would be over it one day. Did you ask him if he had fallen and hurt himself in any way? Yes, I did. What would he say? He said he hadn't fallen. Had you questioned him several times about it? Yes, but he never said anything about being hurt until February. Not until February when he really got sick. In February, did he appear to be worse? Yes, very much. Did he limp? Yes. Was it quite a noticeable limp when he would walk? Very much, yes. He could not walk the same. Did it appear he had to catch on to things because of his dizzy spells? Or did you notice he would almost fall? Yes, he acted as though he was kind of dumb, kind of clumsy, like he wasn't himself. He kind of staggered when he walked. Yes, and he dragged his feet to walk. Did he drag both feet? Yes. Did you notice anything else? He would trip real easily. Yes, sir, and bump into things as he was walking. How was that? Good practice. All right. How are we doing on time? Good. We're doing good. All right. So I'm going to give you one more out of this. Again, it's 2 pages, but I'm not going to do the 180, like read it each time. I'm going to start at 200 and then work my way to 225. Okay. And this is going to be defense. Okay. So, oh, is that your cat? Oh, I know I have to close my door. My cat would be up here too. It's like papers. All right. Here we go. Do you think this marriage can be salvaged? No, sir. Do you think the present situation of both living under the same roof with that attitude on both your parts is advisable? I see nothing against it. You would prefer living under the same roof with your wife at a time when you feel the marriage is not salvageable and there is no possible solution to the marriage? I believe that there is no way my wife and I couldn't reside in that house until the divorce is settled. You don't feel that there is any detrimental effect on the children? No, sir. The only detrimental effect is that she is not there at night to say goodnight to the children. What kind of conduct do you display towards each other? Do you sit and talk or argue? What do you do? Well, are you talking about now? In the past 6 months, I would say there has been a strange silence. Do you have discussions? No, I would say we talk, but I would say that the better part of the evening is just silent. Is there tension? Not on my part. Do you think there is on the part of your wife? You will have to ask her. Do you think the reason that she is leaving the house in the evening when you are there to watch the children is the fact that there is tension when you are under the same roof with her? I think that is what she is telling herself. But you feel that the solution to this problem would be a divorce? Yes, sir. So you have no objection to the securing of a divorce? I shall actively seek it myself. And do you feel you are qualified to have custody of the children? Yes, sir. Who would care for the 2 children? My mother has offered to quit her job and take care of them. I believe that it would be a satisfactory solution. Yet you previously stated that your mother wouldn't bring up the children in the manner in which you would like them brought up. I will still be there. You stated that you are out of town at least 1 or 2 days a week, and sometimes for extended periods of time of 4, 5, or 6 days. It is rare, very rare instances that it is like that. What time do you get home in the evening? I get home at around 6 o'clock. What time do you leave in the morning? Around 7:30. What time do the children go to sleep? 9 or 9:30. So that would leave you approximately 2.5 hours to stay with the children each day, plus weekends. That's correct. But you stated that your mother would not be qualified and you would not prefer your mother to care for the children if you and Sandra were deceased? Right. Yet you will not be there for about 80% of the time? That's correct. So your mother would care for the children without your being around for the vast majority of the time, and the situation would be similar to when you went to visit the attorney last year? No, sir. Right now, you are attempting to have your children in the care of your mother. They are helping me out, yes. 3 hours a day, plus weekends. As a matter of fact, they don't have their mother there at all lately. She has gone 80% of the time, too. 80% of the time, their waking time. The children are left alone during that period of time with babysitters, with me, or by themselves. All right, now we're going into 4 voice. Okay. I'm going to start this at 200, and then we'll work our way into 225. Okay. All right. It's going to be defense again. Okay. Here we go. Is your bedroom, Frank, in the front of the house or in the back of the house? In the back. And you were in bed when you heard the shots? No, I wasn't. Where were you? I was getting ready for bed. Where had you been that evening? The movie theater over in New Jersey. What time did you get home? I got home around midnight. Yeah, about 12. Do you remember exactly what you were doing when you heard the shots? I was getting a drink of milk. So that would put you then in the kitchen? No, walking from the kitchen into the bedroom through the living room. So are the bedrooms that you were going to, are they in the front or toward the back of the house? In the back. So you were walking towards the back of the house? Yes. In about what section of the house were you? About right in the middle of the house. How big of a home do you have? 3-bedroom. There is a hall, I take it, that leads from your living room to the bedroom? Yes, there is. You were someplace down in the hall? Yes. Do you leave your front windows open at night with the blinds up or the drapes open? We leave them open so that there are no blinds at all in your living room? Oh, yes. Those blinds cover parts of the living room window, I take it? All of the living room window. The entire living room window is covered with the blinds. And the drapes too, yes. I don't take you to be a fabric expert because you are a car expert. What kind of drapes are they? Can you describe for me, please? Heavy double drapes with sheer linings. For the record, Mrs. Delaney, He has not said that he was a car expert. That is your statement. Thank you, Your Honor. Cloth drapes, heavy drapes? Yes. Is there something in this kind of fabric referred to as a woolen material? No. Can you describe it? Like a gunny sack. A gunny sack. Are they sort of tan? Yes, with a very loose weave. Loose weave. Are they on a rail that you pull? I mean, do they have a drawstring? No, they are on a curtain rod. And I take it at night you keep them closed? Yes, we do. So as you enter the front door at your house, can you describe to the court as you enter whether you are in an entry hall or in the living room? In the living room. You walk right into the living room? Yes. To the right, is that the rest of the living room? Yes, it is. Can you go to the board here and give us just a freehand sketch of what the entrance to your house looks like? Can I put up, go ahead, go up to the board, it's fine. The only thing, Mrs. Cypress, I am trying to think of the relevancy. I would like to see what this house looks like. Go ahead. If you bear with me for a few minutes, I think it is highly relevant. I don't want to tell the witness what the relevancy is. I don't think we have any markers. Actually, I have got a picture in my mind. I don't. If I could have him make this diagram of the house, if you could just draw us a description very simply, what your house looks like, blocking off the exits and entrances of the rooms, and write the names of the rooms on it, please. Your Honor, can I have this document marked Exhibit A for the record? All right, Exhibit A. I am beginning to question the relevancy here. However, Mrs. Cypress, I will let you continue. So you indicated now that you walked in and you were going down the hallway with a glass of milk and you had something in your hand when you heard some shots? Yes, that is true. Objection. At no time did he say that. He didn't say the hallway. He was walking through the living room. Were you in the hallway? You want me to put down where I was? Sure, why don't you? When you first heard the shots, where were you? Do I have to decide whether I was in the hallway or the living room or what? Now, we are going to get this issue right. I think we all know what the issue is. I want to get to the truth, Your Honor. That is all I am interested in. Yes, we are too, Your Honor. I don't know. Did you hear that? I kind of made a little, just cancel it. Something about installment of some software. Okay, so we're going to do our last Q&A. This is a dental testimony. And I'll start this at 180 and then see how it is and then move to 200. Okay, and let's see. It looks like plaintiff. Let me give you a word list. You're going to hear, let's see, buccal, anesthetic, lingual, posterior, palatal, palatine, novocaine, monocaine, hydrochloride, 2-ME, bicuspid, retracted, alveolar, anesthetic, I think I said that, mandible, mandibular, mandibular foramen, carpule, let's see, oblique, recoil, cranial, hypoglossal, let's see, triangular, let's see, pharyngeal nerve, chorda tympani nerve, and there's glossopharyngeal nerve, anesthesia, paralysis, substantiate, frenum, instantaneously, anesthetize, epiglottis, I think I said frenum, And I think that's it. Traumatic. Okay. Is that your cat? Oh, that's so cute. Oh. Oh, that is just so cute. All right. Oh. We'll have to have a cat day where everybody brings their cat in. All right, so we're gonna, and this is plaintiff. Okay. Here we go. What procedure did you follow in extracting the teeth? Well, with my left hand, I retracted her cheek. Then I took cotton-filled sponges and dried on the buccal side, which is the cheek side of the gum. I also dried on the lingual or tongue side of the mouth with a cotton-filled sponge and swabbed a topical anesthetic on those areas. Then I injected opposite the distal buccal root of the second molar. The 3 upper molars ordinarily have 3 roots on each, 2 roots next to the cheek and 1 next to the palate. I injected opposite the most distal root of the second molar because at that point, the posterior superior alveolar nerve passes and that deadens off the 2 buccal roots of the second molar and the 1 buccal root of the first molar. And then I injected opposite the root of the first molar, which is nearest the midline, to deaden it. When I had all 4 of those roots deadened, I went to the palatal side and injected there in order to deaden the posterior palatine nerve, which gives feeling to that gum and also to the palatal roots of those teeth. 1 injection on the inside and 2 on the outside. You use Novocaine. I used monocaine hydrochloride, or 2-ME as we call it. And after you made those injections, the effect was to deaden those teeth and the gum on both sides? Yes, sir. And then you made the extraction? Yes, sir. When you next saw her, what did you do? I extracted 2 teeth, the lower left first and second bicuspid. What procedure did you use in extracting these teeth? First, I retracted the cheek with my left index finger to look and examine. Then I dried the area that I intended to inject with cotton-filled sponge and swabbed it with the local anesthetic that I referred to before. I let that set about half a minute, and then I injected the Novocaine. I can show you on the skull I have here what I intended to deaden. To begin with, this nerve comes down right here on the inside of the bone and enters this little hole right here with what is called the mandibular foramen. The whole jaw bone or lower jaw bone is called the mandible. This piece that swings down is the mandible, and the lower teeth are attached to the mandible. The mandibular nerve comes down on the inside here and enters that hole and courses along the inside of the bone. Right inside the bone here is a section of it that goes up to the roots of each tooth to give that tooth the feeling. I have here a 27 gauge needle that is 27 gauge in diameter. It is smaller than your lead pencil, about half the size of a lead pencil. In deadening that nerve, I place my hand around the patient's head here, and I place my forefinger at the deepest notch right here, and then go in. I touch bone back there, and then withdraw the needle about 1/8 of an inch and deposit my solution. The nerve deadened by that injection is the mandibular nerve, which gives the feeling to the lower teeth on that side from the wisdom tooth forward to the midline. I don't deposit the entire carpule of anesthetic. That is the carpule there. I don't deposit quite all of it back at the mandibular nerve. I judge it by that rubber stopper that I can see there, and I know that when that rubber stopper gets down to a certain point, I have just about the amount that is necessary. Then I come out, and just before the needle gets clear of the skin, I inject that last little bit, which injects the lingual nerve. The lingual nerve gives feeling to the gums on the tongue side of the teeth in here on the lower side, and also gives feeling to the anterior third of the tongue, the front tip of the tongue on that side only. Doctor, is that a proper technique for deadening the lower part of the jaw? Yes, and one more thing, a proper technique is to either deaden that lingual nerve on the way in or on the way out. It is immaterial. All right, sir, in deadening the lingual nerve then, there is necessarily a deadening of the sensation of pain on the left side of the tongue of the front? Yes, and that is a proper technique for the extraction of teeth on the lower left? Yes, in other words, to deaden the gum on the inside, you have to deaden the front of the tongue on the left because they are supplied by the same nerve at that point, and then it branches out after it gets down in the mouth. When it gets down in the bottom part of the mouth, Then the nerve fibers spread out, some going to the gum and some going to the tongue? Yes. What sensation do you have if the nerve is hit by the needle going in? Well, it would be a tingling sensation on the tip of the tongue, felt on the tongue, but not at that point where the needle is. Now, if you touch the mandibular nerve back there, you will have an immediate sensation on the lip rather than the tongue. Doctor, was it necessary to do any other deadening before you did the extraction on Riley Miller on this occasion? Yes, I deadened the long buccal nerve, which gives feeling to the gum on the outside of the teeth. In order to deaden that nerve, I go in right here, opposite this third molar, and go down underneath the soft tissue and inject some anesthetic right here. And that deadens the soft tissue on the outside of the gum, on the outside of these teeth. When you are shooting the mandibular nerve on the left side, the syringe is put in the right corner of the mouth and pushed towards the left side away from the tongue. I guide the needle by injecting at the midline of this fingernail right here, right at the point where I want it to go in. I feel around in there until I feel what we call the landmark, which, as I said a while ago, is the deepest notch of the internal oblique line. Doctor, as a matter of information for the jury, is it difficult to put the injection into the tongue? My answer to that would be that it would be difficult because when you touch the tongue, it sort of recoils and jumps back, and it is slick with moisture or saliva. You might take a piece of gauze and hold the tip of the tongue in it to stabilize it. Now, I may have said that the nerve that supplies the taste to the tongue is the glossopharyngeal nerve, or the 12th cranial nerve, plus a little sprig of the chorda tympani nerve. Those two nerves give taste and sensation. They are located way back in the skull of the neck down here. The hypoglossal nerve is the motor nerve to the tongue. What do you mean by motor nerve to the tongue? Well, it controls the movement of the tongue up and down and back and forth. To take the needle to the nerve that controls the sensation of the taste, you would have to go awfully deep into the neck here. It would be reached by making an incision, but I don't know if it could be reached without making an incision. Now, Dr. Bowman, in connection with the injection of the anesthesia to perform a mandibular block, there are the lingual nerve and the mandibular nerve, sometimes encountered with the needle, and, well, quite frequently, more often, the lingual nerve than the mandibular nerve. The lingual nerve is anterior. There is a triangular space in the angle of the jaw where the nerves come out of the skull. The lingual nerve and the mandibular branch. The mandibular is further back than the lingual nerve, and the mandibular nerve runs into the whole of the cranium in the jaw, and the lingual nerve is anterior to that. Now, let me say that this situation varies in different people. I mean that anatomically, people are just not the same, and the nerve may be more forward, but on the average, it is anterior, and we go past it. If the needle touches the lingual nerve in going in to make the mandibular block, is there anything improper about that? No, it is very common. It happens several times every day in my office. When it happens, it feels like a flash of fire, and then the flash sensation gradually disappears, and the anesthesia will be practically instantaneous, and instantaneously it will take and it will numb the tongue. Does that cause permanent paralysis of the tongue? Oh, no, sir. Dr. Bowman, what examination did you make? Well, once the patient was in the dental chair, I asked her chief complaints. Then I examined her mouth using a mouth mirror, cotton forceps, and a probe. I could not find any evidence to substantiate her chief complaints. I found no loss of motion of the tongue other than the fact that she had a high frenum on the lingual side of her tongue and could not touch the roof of her mouth. A frenum is a small muscle attached to the lower surface of the tongue. When it is very tight, the person is said to be tongue-tied. Miss Miller could not take the tip of her tongue and touch the roof of her mouth due to this. In a mandibular block, it is customary to deaden or to deposit anesthetic agent around or in the vicinity of the lingual nerve, which goes to the tongue. And if you touch the lingual nerve, the sensation is a burning, pricking sensation at the nerve ending, causing the anesthesia of the nerve. Now, doctor, when the needle is injected into the lingual nerve for this type of local anesthesia, about how far is it from the base of the tongue or the point where the tongue joins the rest of the mouth? It is quite a distance because the base of the tongue is deep down within the neck. all the way back down to the epiglottis. Doctor, would you call that high frenum a congenital defect? It could be, yes. Could it be induced after birth? Yes. Could it be induced by a mandibular block? No. What would induce it after birth? A traumatic injury. Ooh, how is that? So I did go to 200. So, yeah, started at 180 and then went to 200. So I always forget to unmute. So was that pretty challenging?
It was. I could tell when it started to get faster because I was kind of comfortable almost to begin. And like, oh, I'm getting this. And then I'm like, I'm not getting this.
That's okay. You know, that's okay. I mean, that was at 200. So, and that was, you know, more dense. So, you know, and feel free.
Great practice.
Good. Well, then I will definitely look up more ordinal drills. And then I'm going to ask my friend Vicki about the years.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I was just talking to her about that, and I can't remember what she told me, but I thought, wow, I mean, it's literally one stroke.
One stroke for 2,000 whatever.
Yeah, or 19.
Oh, that's awesome, because whenever they throw in a 1990 whatever, I'm just like, forget it. Whenever there's a mess, I just know it's 1990 something.
Yeah, I know. I will definitely, I'm going to ask her about that. So I'll text her and then let you know.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, you have a great day.
All right. See you
have a nice long weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, and stay cool. Does San Diego get pretty crowded on big weekends like this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We were thinking about going to Dog Beach down there at, I think it's Ocean Beach that has and I thought, oh, everybody's going to be going down there, you know, because
early.
Yeah. Well, you have a nice long weekend.
You too. See you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.